law enforcement agencies and individuals in the public would scoff at that. Because what James Walbert is saying has actually been substantiated in our past. In 1977, the Senate investigated the MK Ultra program of the Central Intelligence Agency, and it has been substantiated through Senate testimony that, number one, the CIA did use innocent American civilians as unwitting research subjects. Most importantly, the Inspector General of the CIA was permitted to conduct a very candid review of these CIA operations, and the Inspector General's report has been declassified. It has been released to the public, so this is available for public consumption. And that Inspector General's report says right in it that CIA was using devices for remote monitoring of physiological signals as part of MK Ultra. And what makes that significant is that this isn't just a LSD program or a drug program. This program involved surreptitiously placing medical devices into U.S. citizens for medical experiments. And while the Inspector General report says that these devices were used for a monitoring or surveillance capability, the same Inspector General's report, a few pages later, substantiates that the American intelligence capability to control and manipulate human behavior is a closely held secret, and a need-to-know doctrine was applied to associates within the agency. So these are credible sources. We're talking about senators, the Director of Central Intelligence, and the Inspector General of the Central Intelligence Agency. And when these individuals say that CIA is using devices for remote monitoring of physiological signals, and that CIA possesses a capability to control and manipulate human behavior, that is an authoritative source. They are not to be disputed. They know what they're talking about. And through my involvement with contract personnel, I can verify as well that the Inspector General was not lying when he said these things. The CIA does, in fact, use devices for remote monitoring of physiological signals. They do, in fact, possess a capability to control and manipulate human behavior with these devices. And what I find to be extremely repulsive is that the government would number one, target its own citizens with that capability. And even more disgusting is to use it against elected officials or the other branches of government. And there is some evidence that indicates that this has happened. And that's primarily what has compelled me to come on today and talk to you and your listeners, is that we're not just talking about terrorists. We're talking about articulate, well-spoken individuals such as myself, such as Mr. Walbert. These are people who have not been convicted of a crime. And it's my opinion that the intelligence activities that have been directed at U.S. citizens grossly and deeply undermine our U.S. constitutional rights, our human rights, our civil rights, and there is some disturbing use of this technology. That's why I'm here, James, is we need to substantiate that, number one, this is happening. Number two, it's happening domestically. Number three, that it's a problem. And also discuss a little bit about the potential abuse on the other two branches of government and how this could be used to undermine our democracy, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you this, David, is this the first time that you've spoken publicly about this? Because for me, this is I've known about this for a long time, at least 20 years, and I've known a lot of survivors and people that were involved with MK Ultra, and I'm quite well known for that in that particular area. But generally speaking, when you speak about this stuff, from what I've seen, people just brush it off and they just can't handle the truth at all. I mean, has that been an experience of yours too, that people just don't want to hear about this when you talk about it?
Well, absolutely. Number one, I think a lot of the people who have been victimized by these activities, a lot of them don't possess the knowledge, the factual information, or the ability to advocate in an effective manner. And I think that they have been scoffed at, they've been ridiculed, And that's unfortunate because this is, number one, substantiated that these activities have occurred. And number two, there is a real problem with the way it's been abused domestically against our own citizens.
Now, James, this is for you, James and David. What physiologically have you gone through in your own body? What symptoms have you had to go through living with this inside of you?
What he's getting ready to describe, I experience practically on a daily basis.
Now, a lot of nervous system stimulation, and I mean to the point where I can't even hold a pen sometimes. I try to maybe type an email or something. It seems to be that they are so meticulous with their observation and their monitoring skills that they're able to actually tell when I'm executing an email of importance or any tasks of importance. If I try to actually write something, I have very legible handwriting. My handwriting is very well. I'm well educated. I don't have problems with sending emails or typing or writing, and it would seem to be to me that their observations are so meticulous that they can actually tell when I'm going to do something that requires me to have legible handwriting or legible emails, and I will start to tremble to the point where I can't even pick up a pen, or they'll disrupt me to the point where I can't remember anything at all. And the reason that I can actually pinpoint these occasions, which are almost to a daily basis now, is because I can feel the electricity come down the left side of my ear and into my neck, and I can start to taste metallic in my mouth. So it's right above my ear, and I can actually start to hear the implant itself hissing. It'll make a hissing noise right above my left ear. So that's been my experience. My doctors have shown neurological and pathological physical injuries to my body, as well as nervous system damages. So, and that's been cited by toxicological scientist Dr. Hildegarde Banninger, as well as several medical doctors here in the city of Wichita.
What about you, David?
James, my experience has been that I am very confident that the U.S. government, the U.S. intelligence agencies possess an unparalleled capability to place a person under surveillance using implantable biomedical technology. And that's a capability that could be used in a healthy manner to help our country, to give us a strategic advantage over the enemy. And I don't have as much of a problem with that. But the big problem I've had is that there is indeed a capability to actually control and manipulate the actions and behavior of the affected individuals. And I think that's where we get into some very deep constitutional rights violations. That's when this thing could be exploited domestically for a partisan agenda. Specifically, number one, I touched on the fact that back in 1963, when the Inspector General of the CIA substantiated that CIA was using devices for remote monitoring of physiological signals, there was a very experienced intelligence veteran named Victor Marchetti who gave a media interview in the 70s. And Victor Marchetti substantiated that during the 70s and during the Nixon administration, that the CIA's claims to have discontinued these activities was a cover story. So it appears that the Nixon administration continued to rely on this capability. And without going into a whole lot of detail, there is a very compelling amount of evidence that indicates biomedical technology was being deployed upon Democrats at Watergate. And now, more recently, after the same Dick Cheney has gotten back into the White House, we've learned once again that another program has been kept secret from Congress for several years. The recent Obama Director of Central Intelligence, Leon Panetta, has disclosed to Congress that, hey, under the Bush administration, a program was conducted for several years with no statutory congressional notification. And it's my allegation, and I have made these allegations in a formal manner to the Attorney General, that biomedical intelligence activities have been directed at our people who legislate in Washington, D.C. It is very hard to substantiate this. However, I am confident that such abuses have occurred. I've brought forth the formal allegation. And I hope, my hope and expectation is that this administration can see fit to, number one, investigate these claims, and number two, take some action as necessary to deter those kind of abuses, because now we're not talking about Al-Qaeda. Now we're talking about our legislators in Washington, D.C., who appear to have been, number one, targeted in such a manner during Watergate, and number two, it appears that they've gone down that road again.
Okay, all right. Hang on, guys. We're just going to take a quick break here. I know you're covering some major material here. This is Manchurian Candidate style, everybody. This is what I've been talking about for a long time.
That was David Larson on a radio show broadcast. Now, David Larson is currently on the board of directors of the water department in Yucca Valley, California, where I will eventually be going to try and contact him. Now, he's also, he volunteered for a research project, and they implanted him, and that was when he was on the independent ticket for the president. And I think that was back between 2004 and 2009. Now, he is currently on the board of directors of the water department in Yucca Valley, California. And since, as a result of him volunteering for a research study, they implanted him without his knowledge, non-consensual, and he found out about it and had the implant removed, and his information is online. You can just type in David Larson biomedical implants, and you'll see the picture of the implant, all the investigations in reference to him exposing what they did to him, and he's also he's also got videos online that you can find by going to YouTube and type in David Larson, Organized Stalking, David Larson, they're called Popeye videos, How Deep is the Rabbit Hole? Trust me, if you just Google and YouTube the descriptions, and you'll find them. Listen to everything he's saying. And on this one, this was only a section of the radio show that he was given. And in the whole entire radio show, which I'm going to copy and paste the entire URL address in the YouTube comments feature of this YouTube video, you'll be able to listen to the entire thing. And as a result of you listening to the entire thing, you will literally be able to hear him state that these expeditions have been going on since the late 50s. I was born in '63. Okay? This has been going on towards me my entire life. Literally. They just updated the technology, that's all. And it was a direct result of my parents offering up at least 3 of their children for human experimentation. There's NASA in my family. My dad was Chief MP General Curtis LeMay. There's Air Force personnel, first cousins and uncles. My ex-husband was in the Navy. I know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm going to put it to you this way. I know somebody who was subjected to the Blue Beam Project when they were little. Okay, and holographic projections were witnessed by the same person in Michigan on multiple occasions in the late 60s, and also in Michigan between the years of 2001 and 2010. On geographical locations in Dearborn, Michigan, holographic projections were literally projected towards this same individual, as well as here in California in 2006, and currently here since this person has been here since August 2011. San Diego, California, and my name is Leslie Williams.